The vegetation is lush in the south and southwest of Ireland. Green pasture as far as the eye can see. Ireland is famous for its delicious milk. There isn't really any secret. For much of the year, the cows are out grazing most of the time and only come indoors for milking. And they're not bred to yield enormous quantities of milk. The farmer Tom Ferguson has 110 milk cows. They graze on his 160 hectares of pasture. Because the climate is so mild, they rarely have to find shelter, unlike their cousins on the European mainland. The plentiful rain ensures the grass is lush. It's not surprising that their milk is tastier than that of cows who live in a shed. The Irish have started to do more with their milk, beyond making butter. Tom Ferguson and his wife Giana are pioneers in making artisanal cheese. At their dairy, they process 3,000 litres of milk a day. Starter cultures are added to the vats of milk. Giana Ferguson spent years living in Spain and France, where she learned the art of cheese making.
I married a cheesemaker. I had the milk and she had the skill, so that's how it began.
I would say my answer is it all begins with the land, because West Cork is unique, and the land here, right at the edge of Europe, really, right on the sea, is it's very pure land, and the milk is extraordinary. It's so good. It was impossible not to experiment with cheese making. But that's all we did to start. We experimented.
That was 3 decades ago. Since then, their Gubbeen cheese, named after their farm, has become a well-known brand. Half an hour after the starter cultures are added, the milk has thickened and gelled into curds. It's then cut with a long blade. Tom and Giana can hardly keep up with the demand for their aromatic soft cheese, favoured by gourmets across Ireland and in continental Europe as well, even in France. The curds are then placed in moulds and weights put on top to squeeze out the whey. Then they're left alone for 12 hours. By the next morning, the wheels of cheese will have taken form.
It's the grass is the key to it. It makes it so competitive because there's no feedlots. We're out day and night for 9 months of the year.
We have the Gulf Stream. So this corner of West Cork and some parts of Kerry have this remarkable warmth. So early grass.
While the cows placidly graze in the morning sun, the cheese dairy is a hive of activity. Overnight, the whey has drained out of the curds, which are now firm and can be tipped out of the molds. The wheels of cheese are then bathed in brine. The rind develops and the salt suffuses the cheese and contributes to the flavor. Giana and Tom have been perfecting their cheese-making skills for 3 decades now. Right from the start, it was more than just a business venture.
What was missing out of Irish culture? We had the poetry, we had the painters, we had the theatre, we had our culture, but we didn't have a food culture. And for reasons that I'll leave you to imagine, when it happened, there were 4 or 5 of us back in the mid-70s making cheese for our own reasons in parts of West Cork and Kerry. And this was really just immediately accepted. So it was accepted, it was welcomed. It was the piece of the puzzle that was missing in Irish culture, Irish food, real Irish food. Yeah.
The Fergusons now make 3 tons of cheese a week. Each cheese is washed with brine and white wine every day for 2 weeks. That creates the distinctive aroma. And all kinds of people enjoy Gubbeen cheese nowadays.
Driving tractors,
Yes.
that have huge cheese sandwiches.
Fishermen going off to sea.
Yeah.
Children now going to school
And
have
then
their sandwiches too.
Very posh dinner parties on the other side.
And you know, the White House. Every Patrick's Day, Gubbeen goes to the White House. We have a very strange client base.
Irish dairy products enjoy an excellent reputation, and clearly not just at home. After the cheeses have been washed and turned for 2 weeks, they're left to mature for a further 4 weeks. Gubbeen cheese is sold at farmers' markets across Ireland, as well as in fine food shops in France and Germany. For the Fergusons, making cheese is more than just a business. It has to do with the fertile land and their sense of home. Almost everything they eat is sourced locally, from their own farm or their neighbours.
A lid, that'll be like a table.
It really has a lot to do in Ireland with our identity. I think now we have our own food culture and we're very proud of that. I think at last perhaps Europe is aware that we do have a vulnerability in our food cultures. If we don't fight to save them, we'll all be eating turkey nuggets. We need to be careful of these little foods, and I think there is a sense of protectiveness all across cultures now, and certainly across economies. People who will spend £100 on a bottle of wine are also thinking, well, maybe we should buy local cheese too. It's a nice time to be a small farmer.
The Fergusons are part of a gentle food revolution, and the revolutionaries are small farmers. Slow food, authentic and local, makes perfect sense where nature is so generous.